This next block will be dedicated to going a bit more in depth into a number of services that are provided, or teams of support. We, the metadata repository specialists, are your gateways to these services. You talk to us, and when we together agree that yes, you are in the phase where you need some more technical support from specialists in a specific field, we will contact you with them. The first of those teams that you will probably need to talk to relatively early on is the EOSC UX team. And we have them here with us, and they will share some more information about what UX is and how they could support you. So I'll pass the word to Paul.
Thank you, Illy, for introducing us. Hello, hi, everyone. I want to talk about our team. And first of all, this section will be workshop. You will be working on something. And yes, it will be great, I believe. Again, hello, everyone. Welcome here. My name is Pavlína, but everybody calls me Pav. And I'm service designer here, and I'm also our UX lead, this great team. You already know Vercha. Vercha is our UX UI designer, and also we have Kaya. Kaya is our UX researcher. And today we want to introduce us, and we are going to talk about how to design a repository, your dream repository based on user needs. And we will look at UX, we will look at on requirements, testings, and metrics. And we will show you some tools and methods you can use about your journey when you are creating a repository. But first, yeah, that's us. But first, some intro about important keywords, UX versus UI. I have to tell you something, and that a lot of people don't know, and that is UX is not the same as a UI. UI is user interface, and it's based on how your website looks like. So it's about colors, buttons, pictures. But UX is more about user experience. So it's about how the web page works and how your users feel when they work with them. So it's more about what they need, if your website's really great with their needs and everything about it. And the design, the UI can look nice, but if it's hard to use, that means that UX is still not good. So, and here is a really nice picture about it in more detail. On the right side, you can see about UX. It's more about user research, because you have to find out what your user needs, what's about your idea, what do you want to deliver, to whom, who is your target groups, and how do you want to deliver them. After this process, when you are designing, prototyping, testing, then after that you can start to work with the UI about the colors, buttons, and pictures and visual identity. So today we will work our requirements, and we will focus on this side of UX. So also here is picture about wireframe we create for repository, and Kaya will be talk about it more after that. And on the left side, you can see how can the final product can look like. Here you can see our future data catch-all. So, and last slide, I tell you that I'm a service designer, so I have to tell something about service design. Because when I talk about UI, I talk about colors and web page. When I talk about UX, I talked about how it works and about every web page. But in service designer, it's a whole ecosystem. It's more that it's not just screens. It looks like around the repository, it's about all people, steps, and processes. and it helps us understand what happens before someone uploads a data set, who check it, who approves, and more about it. And what happens when a data set is updated or deleted. It shows us things we don't see at first, but they are very important for making the whole system work well. And also, it's not about only the repository and the system, but it's all about the people, documentary, service desk, and also how you connect your service on your repository. So this is small window and vocabulary, and now I would like invite here Kaya, and she will talk about what we deliver to you.
Hello. Thank you, Paul, for a nice introduction and some keywords. And I would like to just remind you that all of us here, we are the designers of our Dream repository. And as a little Christmas present, we have some gifts for you. Yeah. So we have some set of wireframes. As Paul mentioned, I will go to it as a next. We also have a component library for now and for Invenio, which will serve further for setting up the whole environment of the interface. And that's the next layer which you are responsible for. And then we have a service design document, which is very nice overview of questions, which will help you when you answer them to make the whole process clear. And then we can also support you with developing visual identity, but also just like a little consultation, not the whole thing. Next one. So here you can see the wireframes, and that's the basic layout what actually we already have now. So when you are making your own requirements, this is not something you need to come up with. So it comes with a search element, like a search bar. It comes with the main page. This is how it's going to look like. You have some filters, you have some overview of results, and then you have the details of the dataset. So this is the basics which we already have. And what needs to be done is creating the real requirements, which are the domain-specific requirements for your field. And to make a good requirement, you really need to be specific so the developers can really take it after and we can assure that it really works for the users. So when you're making that, really think about what the community needs the most, how they actually search the results, how would they use how the whole flow would work, and what informations are really important to them. So these questions or these steps would really help you to form the base for the requirements. But that's not all. So when you are making the list of requirements, really try to name it, try to give it a category. If it comes to the home page, if it comes to what point in the whole process it is. And also try to think about what is the priority. If it's a must-have, or if it's something nice to have, or if it's just something additional or a low priority. And try to really describe it so people can understand what you mean. And to make it really specific, to make it specific, and that's something we will do now. So we will spend maybe 10 minutes to try to make a good requirement and to be specific. So we would really like you to form groups, ideally based on your repositories, or someone who don't have a group or don't have a repository, try to just squeeze to someone. We will give you papers, which really helps in a design process to connect your brain with your ideas. So form a group, grab a paper, and try to make a list, at least a few requirements. So here, yes. We will be walking around and we will try to help you on forming a good requirement. And here are some questions. Here is an overview of the table, how to make a category, give it a priority, and try to think what is important, for example, about the data sets, or what is important for you. And yeah, that's it, right? Something to add? You can also do it individually and then compare it together, but we really suggest you to try to talk it together and think about it together out loud, because this really works to share the ideas. So as a user experience, I would really love those who don't build a repository specifically, to join some group who is building, to figure out how hard it is to make a specific requirement, to give it a name, to call it somehow, and to place it in the category. Because it's really, really difficult for developers to after take those ideas on. And if you have any questions, please just raise a hand. We will come to you. Thank you so much for having some interesting discussions in your groups, those you had. This was one of the way how to set up. Excuse me. We're going to continue with the presentation. Thank you so much. This was one of the ways how you can start with the process of setting the requirements. And it can be very hard to really start from the scratch when you have a blank paper. It's a good start. It's a good start, and Verča's going to tell you more about the design process and other ways how to approach it and continue with setting it up. So, Verča.
Thank you, Kaya. Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for putting a little time into thinking about what actually your repository needs. I think this time is really going to pay out soon, and I think it's really important to think about what we need before we start doing it, because then it can often backfire in the end if we don't think about it first. So thank you for putting a little effort into that. Let's continue. So as Kaya said, that was like one of the ways that you can start thinking about the needs of your users yourself and how you construct requirements. There's other ways to do this too. Usually it shouldn't just stay with you. It shouldn't just stay in your head and in your thoughts and, oh, I would like to have this like this and then this like this. You have to think about there's going to be other users that are going to use it and, you know, going to interact with it, upload data, etc., etc. So don't just make it about yourself. Try to find out what your users need. If you have the time, if you have the capacity, there's other ways that you can research user needs. You can do interviews, you can do focus groups where you pick some topic and then you talk about it. You can do questionnaires if you don't have much time. You construct a questionnaire, you send it out, at least you have something. And then you can also research similar products. So for example, you go on Zenodo and you think about, what do I like, what do I hate, what do I need here that Zenodo doesn't have, etc., etc. And then if you have that extra time and capacity, now I know I'm asking a lot, you can also think about user flows and scenarios and use cases. So actually take the needs and construct not only the requirements, but also some other things that can help you. So for example, scenarios, you can think about what would be a scenario of the user going through your repository, going through your data upload, and think about what kind of hiccups and what kind of errors there could be, and try to make it so that they don't happen. Oh, yes. I have this really beautiful graph thing here. So data gathering and requirement establishment is an iterative process. That means it doesn't just end by, okay, we did it and we're done. Usually you have to go back into your requirements. The more data you gather, you go to your programmers and they say, no, we can't do this. Okay, back to the drawing board, new requirements, let's go. So as you can see, whoa, it's a party. You start by data gathering, you move on to some analysis and interpretation of the requirements. So if someone told you that they want something in the repository, how are we going to implement that? How are we going to ensure that their needs are met? And then you establish some requirements. And then those requirements, they're passed on to the programmers, they go into the design of the interface, and then la-di-da, 10 centuries later, hopefully soon, you have your repository. And as I said, you go back and forth as you go. So really, it is an iterative process. Okay, 10 minutes, let's go. That's just what I said. They can change over time, so don't be too set in stone. As designers, it's really hard for us because usually we're like, okay, we have this really nice idea, but then things change like 10 billion times after that. So don't be scared to go back to the drawing board, really, and change it up if you need to. They will become more specific over time. Don't be afraid if you start a little bit from the back, think about, what you need to do, what needs to be done, and then you go into the specifics as more as you realize, what's really underneath and what do we need specifically. But you should end in some specific requirements. And yes, if they're well formed early on, it's easier to develop afterwards. Please make it nice for your development, for your programmers, and specify those requirements. Make it easy for them to understand what you need from them. So establishing requirements is one part of the design cycle, and the design cycle, just like the establishing requirements, is very iterative. So that means you start by establishing requirements, you can move on to design alternatives, but here you may realize again, oh no, I forgot something. I need to go back to establishing requirements. Or you can move on to prototyping, make some kind of really nice prototype in Figma, or just draw it on paper. I do that all the time. It's great. And then you can move on to some evaluation. And if you find out here it doesn't work, well, you just go back to the drawing board and you go back to designing and you go back to prototyping. But at some point, you should end up here. And this is where we all want to be one day. And I hope we get there. All right, what your and our future looks like, because we are here to support you. Concretely, Illy is here to be the bridge between you and us. So she's the gatekeeper. And yes, once you have your requirements, next step, design. So I know what I need, I have what I want, now I need to put it on paper, I need to draw it up. You can draw it on paper. Usually it's a good idea to start lo-fi. You don't want to put all this time and energy into drawing something up in Figma, for example, and then suddenly you find out, wait, that's not how I wanted it at all. So I know it sounds a bit like Stone Age, but use that pen and paper, especially when you think. It really helps. Next, you can also think about your identity, like your logo and how colorful you want your repository to be. But this is usually like the last step. This is not, I would say it's not that important. Of course, it has its own importance, but number one is really like how the users are going to go through it and what you need in there. Other thing, test your design. Don't just leave the testing in the end. Even if it's like you take your design and you go to a couple of people and you're like, hey, just could you look at this? Do you think it makes sense? Does it make sense? Just that little amount of feedback, still, it's better than nothing. So I really recommend you to do that. Then, at some point, hopefully, you go and annoy your developers and you tell them everything you want. Sorry, I have like PTSD. And then you go to evaluate your system. Ideally with real users. Ideally, it's not like, hey, mom, could you look at this, please? It's like, professor, this and this, could you try this? And then, you know, at some point you should get some result and see, does it work, does it not work, what needs to be improved, what needs to be changed before we actually ship it out, before we send it to everybody else. Yes, I'll talk a little bit more about the metrics. And yes, throughout this whole process, don't be scared. We're here. We're here to help you. Illy is here to help you. So please don't be afraid to contact us, and that's what we're here for. This is just an example of how the you know, the loop that we talked about, the design loop, how it could look like. So for example, you know, you gather the requirements. That's what you did right now, actually, a little bit of it. So you can take those home, ask a couple of people about it, you know, and develop them more. Go into some design, you test, iterate the design, implement, evaluate, everything that I talked about before. Types of testing. There are so many types of testing, but I think one of the most important ones is usability testing, and QA testing is number one, I think. Testing, yes. Yes, QA testing is really important and makes sure that your repository satisfies the basic needs, so it doesn't throw errors, it's easy to understand, there's not like a horrible mistake. Basically it works. Usability is more about, okay, people don't want to rip their hair out when they use it. That's also important, I think. And then we have some tips and tricks. Do not manipulate testing, which means, you know, when you have your own little repository that you built and then you give it to someone and they don't use it like you wanted them to use it, it's a bit like, just press that button. Can't you see that button over there? Just do it. And yeah, that's a bit, you know, everybody's going to use it on their own by themselves, and you're probably not going to be there to manage it. So you need to make sure that it also works without you pointing the finger and showing, right here, click right here. All right, have a plan, follow its structure, of course. Mixed methods, I think it helps to have both qualitative, quantitative data. So don't just throw out a questionnaire, maybe talk to your users, but it's good to combine both. I mean, you guys know, I'm sure. The metrics that we'll be collecting, basically, we want to get some basic metrics, so the number of download data sets, amount of data stored, etc., etc. So those are going to be probably like mandatory stuff that we'll get in the meantime. Some system data, so traffic, incidents, errors, logs. A and B are, you know, the basic, the foundation metrics here. And then C is more recommended. So if you want an extra what is happening, but I don't want to test it because I don't have the capacity, you can get some usability metrics, which are okay, from systems like Matomo, which you can implement on your page, or Google Analytics. I think we will be supporting Matomo. Yes. Why is this important? It's important because you know, when you show all this nice data and you're like, it works, usually the funders, they're like, "Ooh, it works. That's nice." So think about that when you use your metrics. And you can also argue that, you know, people are using this. That means there's meaning to it. That means it should continue. It should be supported. All right. I think is this you? This is not my slide anymore. All right. It's you time.
Thank you. Thank you, Veronika. Yes. Thank you so much. We are getting to the end, and let's take some action. Yeah. So now you can go home. Not yet. Not yet. Take the papers with you. Go home and get other people who are building the repository with you, and let them do the same exercise. Let them to write it down, and then you can come together, you can compare it, find out if maybe someone else wrote something else. Maybe there is something you didn't think about at all that might be really important, because someone will use it in a little different way than you would. And then you figure out if it's specific, what's the priority, all of those things we made in the table. And then really try to focus on verifying those things you wrote down. Testing it, asking someone else, sending questionnaire, doing focus groups, and really take the ideas from your community. We are here, we can consult it with you, you can really turn to Illy mainly because, as Verča said, she's the gatekeeper to us. But we will really be happy to somehow help you. But unfortunately, we cannot do all of those things for all of you and for all those lovely repositories. So in this case, you are the designers, and we can help you, and we will really try to make more materials for you. And firstly, I also really recommend you to go through the service design document, where are the questions you can be answering. And we have the key takeaways, and I would really love to give it to Illy.
Hello. To finish this presentation, I'd like to reiterate that you have all of this great know-how that you can consult with. I also have some design training, so I am the first contact, as was said a few times. Some of the things in this presentation are for now Invenio specific, but just because you're building a repository on a different system or one completely different from the basic ones, you can still consult it with us. A lot of the principles are the same. And we can also share experiences from other repositories, how gathering requirements for them, what worked well with engaging the community, and so on. I'm part of the team on one of the pilot repositories. We have been testing focus groups within the archaeology community, so we can share all in it together. We have one Slido question for you. So the UX team can request, you can provide some training for you, especially if there's interest from more of you on any of the topics decided here. So the poll will be open, the last one, throughout the rest of the evening. It's the same link as before. So if there's anything specific you're interested in, let us know or contact us by email and we can get you set up. So thank you for your attention. And I will slowly pass the word on to, I believe, Milan.
Maybe just a... Are there any questions from the auditorium? I know that Maciej has a question. Maciej, can it wait until the Q&A, or do you want it to read now exactly? Yeah. Okay. One remark from me. For me, the user experience and design is a whole universe which is totally blurry for me. I hear the keywords, but usually I do not understand at first sight what they are talking about. If you are in the same position, don't be scared. As was said several times, the primary contact is the repository system specialist, who is the person that tells you in this specific step of specification of your repository, it is wise to do some design decisions, go through this method. You can use this technique. So you do not have to jump into the UX as the whole universe. You will be served tiny pieces of what is practical in your use case. So I hope I did not say anything. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Maciej will wait until the Q&A before lunch. Okay, and we are passing on to Milan Janíček.